There's only one other melody, except for this amazing sort of grace thing, which, we've overplayed, that has drilled itself into my subconscious to the point where, like, I hear it and it's like the morphine drip for me. It's like a fucking, like, a comfort. This is the comfort food for my mind's eye. And, like, there's like a full version. There's a full David Porter version. There's obviously the Breaking Bad intro theme. It's like 2 minutes long, but it sounds different. But like those 18 seconds, and it's, again, the universe in a grain of sand. Since the show takes a lot of inspiration from the films of Sergio Leone, David Porter, the composer, also took a big inspiration from Ennio Morricone, who was, his music would be very unorthodox, but good, very good. Very evocative, caring more about being, There's varying theories within cinema. Some say that you should not have music, like in The Wire. The Wire, except for there's one exception, when Frank Zabaka is on his way to be killed in the second to last episode, but aside from that, any music that's in there is diegetic in The Wire. It's, someone's playing it from a jukebox or it's in a car, It's only within the final episode, during the final closing montage, that they would have a song, and it'd be pivotal, it'd be evocative, it'd be brilliant, and that rupture would be important. So but the other side goes, nah, man, fucking, good, bad, and the ugly, big fucking strokes, embrace the stylistic intensity and use that, So Breaking Bad went for the other way. It's that intro theme. It's that Western twang. The desolation, that's why Ozymandias, that's like, it's that kind of thing. You can just see the desert, and then you feel up your spine that ding, ding, ding. In the end, that rattle, that snake tail, that sis. And within the visual of the intro, that's why I blew the smoke out, the way it's that sulfur, that just like Jack at the end, that last cigarette. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, who's the villain in Breaking Bad? I mean, obviously, as I'm going to get into, the show is not clear-cut. But, again, it paints in broad strokes. Who is the villain? The main villain. Not necessarily the antagonist, but the villain. Sagas. Not Tuco. It's not even Jack and Todd. Jack and Todd are, they're the most evil manifestations. But again, they're almost caricatures, intentionally underdeveloped. Except for Todd, though. Todd's pretty nuanced, more nuanced than you think. The villain. The villain. It's capitalism. Broke Bad Prologue. We start tomorrow. I could talk for longer than the series ran, time-wise. It's 56 episodes. It's 5 seasons. First season had to be short because of the writer's strike. It was only 7 episodes. Then it went 13. The 5th season, they split into two arcs, but they go together very well. They're almost mirror reflections. The 5th season's one of the best. It's amazing. People like the 4th more. Some argue that the 3rd, I would say the 3rd objectively has the best episode, single episode, but the 5th, we'll get to it. But yeah, so Breaking Bad had a lot of episodes. And, who's the villain, aside from capitalism, in Breaking Bad? It's Walter White. always Walter White. That's the thing that they trick you into thinking, and they intentionally did this to give it away. Walter White is, until there's maybe 3 episodes, which I'll get to beat by beat. 3 episodes, I believe, in which Walter White is the hero. They're amazing. It's almost superheroic given how much of a villain he was. But they set up in flashbacks that Walter White, before anything, was a bad person. Was the villain of his story from, his gray matter days. That if anything, it was not his partner who was the bad guy, even though, they're rich, so yeah, they're bad because capitalism is the villain. But, Walter White always had that ego. Always. In the beginning. If anything, Heisenberg is not the bad part. Heisenberg is the one who occasionally does some cool ass shit and saves people. But Walter White is the villain. Before he breaks bad, before he cooks meth, before he busts with Tuco, before he cold-blooded runs over someone and shoots someone in the head, which again, spoiler alert, is fucking the greatest thing he does. Before he lets Jane die and causes that fucking the bear and the karmic, before the point of no returns in the 4th and 5th season where he becomes almost a cartoonish, almost a supervillain. No. He's first episode you see him, even not the flash forward at the beginning. You see him as a teacher. He's the villain. He's a bad person. He's a bad person who gets, I guess I got what I deserved. Why do you think I used the Badfinger song, Baby Blue, to end my piece about my father? Now, yeah, it was a meta text because that's the final song that plays in the very last episode of Breaking Bad. When Walter White dies. Very iconic, Christ-like, happy, zen. It's like the end of Ikiru, The happiest we ever see him as he dies, surrounded by the co-opted meth empire that he helped build, that got co-opted by white supremacy. Walter White supremacy. Breaking Bad's a better show than you think. You might think it's a great show and your favorite show, but guess what? It's even better. It's even better than I think. Breaking Bad is one of the great shows. One of the great stories, one of the great narratives. I'm going back to it now because I did a blog that I tried to do during its final season, but again, I was not just done this, my brother. I was pretty fucked up. So, Scatterbrained. I'm not going to go back to it and complete it. It's just going to be a fucking, like my MySpace account. It's a fucking amusement park. So maybe in these I can, I don't know. I've written paper. I wrote one of my last semester fucking Trinity. I took a philosophy, fucking independent study. I was like, I'm going to do a fucking 30-page paper on Breaking Bad. It didn't have to be that long. But I love Breaking Bad. It's a great show. It's amazing. As I'm going to get into a little bit more. But yeah, Walter White's a piece of shit. So, who's the hero? It's almost Jesse Pinkman. Now, Jesse Pinkman is the protagonist. He's the main protagonist. Yeah, him and Walter are attached at the hip. You can't have one without the other. Ultimately, the story, is about the father and son relationship that they have. But mostly, Jesse Pinkman he's the protagonist. He's the, you could even maybe say the narrator's fucking, the narrator's omniscient. The narrator's fucking God, pretty much. That little bear eyeball that got loose, Again, it's like the world I surround myself in. The narrator, in Breaking Bad are the objects around them, which ripple with symbolic resonance as the show carries across. But it's almost Jesse Pinkman. Jesse Pinkman's the anti-hero. He's not the full hero. He gets corrupted. It's not his choice, After he kills Gale, that's his point of no return. And the 4th season is just, he arguably does some of the worst things in the entire series. You know, even worse than Walter, because Walter, at least a lot of it, you know, has detached and plausible deniability. But when Jesse Pinkman, and trust me, as someone, you know, who understands the recovery, and as someone who, in hindsight, used to see a lot of these vipers at my parents' meetings, you know, in the shadows, Jesse Pinkman sells meth to people in his NA and AA meetings. He intentionally gets Badger and Skinny Pete to go into those meetings. You know, that's why he shacks up with Andrea to begin with. You know, and he wants to get her to relapse. To relapse. He wants to get people who are trying to recover to relapse on drugs, so he can sell them the meth that he's been stealing, that he's been pilfering. Again, Jesse Pinkman's a great cook. One could argue actually better than Walter, arguably destined to become the best meth cook in the world, you know. But that's not what he wants to do. He wanted to be a good person. But he just doesn't. And in that thing, you know, in that scene in Problem Dog where he breaks down. And yeah. But yeah, that's why when he gets fucking kidnapped by the Nazis, he kind of deserves that. Like, that's what he deserves. Guess I got what I deserved. But he needs to be redeemed. And he can only be redeemed by his corrupt father, by the sins of the father, you know. You know what I'm saying, baby blue? My father used to call me that. You know. See my eyes? They used to be more blue. I don't know. Like this, it's maybe Irish, you know, an unnatural, misty, sort of vibrant gray. So, I don't think he would sing the Badfinger song to me. And I don't even think he fucking knew the Dylan song. But he would just call me Baby Blue. To him, I was his Baby Blue because of my blue eyes, which, again, as a child, were even more sort of... And now in hindsight, I'm sure he was fucked up out of his brain on dope, so they must have fucking really been blue, you know? Some kind of blue to him. He would sing the John Lennon song, Beautiful Boy, to me. I'm going to sleep, say a little prayer. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Beautiful, 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 beautiful boy. Remember when Walter goes to rescue Jesse from the drug den? You know, the drug den he more or less forces him to go to after he lets Jane die. Remember how he just cradles him and he cries? Jesse wasn't going to remember that, you know. I had that moment happen with my father. Because again, he used to sing that song to me as a child when I'd be going to sleep, you know. So when he was detoxing in his third day, he's threatening to kill me, you know. He's threatening to kill me. After I wake him up by singing that song. Beautiful, 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 beautiful boy. Because I knew it would tap into fucking. But he didn't want to hear that initially. So he gets up and, you know, fucker, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. He's like, if I had a gun. End times. Season 4, second to last episode. So if I had a fucking gun, and I knew then it would be, he literally would have to fucking brawl to the death. But that's not what I did, though. I said, if you want to kill me, the throat's right here. Of course he wouldn't do that. And then I look at him and I went, I'm so sorry for you, Father. You were supposed to fly. You were Larry Bird. And that's what broke him. That's what broke him good. I tell you, I think I redeemed him with just that. I at least redeemed myself. I at least saw that he beneath the disease was a man who wanted to do good by his son, but just, I know, was forever broken. But yeah, I'm going to get more into actually the show itself, but I am going to have to unavoidably tie it into my personal life because that's why I love the show so much. That's why I was drawn to it. But it is the greatest show, regardless, outside of me, though.